Hello, everybody. Welcome to
Say,
Paranormal
where
Nation.
you go?
Not so normal, and it's a not so normal night. We even got a little bitty
You
co-host
and
down
me.
there in the corner there.
You and me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So, how's
Oh my
Ron and
god.
Nolan doing? Right.
I think he's leaving.
So, how's everything been down in Florida?
Oh man, nice. Hey Nigel, perfect weather.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Ah. Well, we've been in 60s and 70s up here, so it's been pretty good. But everybody, tonight we got a real good guest coming on here. So, Ron, I'll let you introduce Rob. Tell everybody about him.
Oh, this is Rob from Pensacola Paranormal. A lot of peas. A lot of peas.
We'll bring Rob up and let
Yeah.
him tell everybody. Hello, Rob.
He
Welcome.
even messes it up.
Hello, hello.
The
Hey Irene.
Pensacola Paranormal Panhandle, isn't it? Or something like that?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can
Hey, I
throw a
got it
rock at
halfway there.
Alabama from here.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm only a mile from the bay that divides Alabama and Florida.
Oh, well, that's pretty good and
Yep.
stuff.
That's real
So,
close.
Rob, how long have you been into the paranormal?
Gosh, it's been a good close to 30 years, I guess.
What got you into the paranormal?
Um, we lived in England. We were walking up on the Marlborough Downs, which is a small mountain range that ran behind my mother-in-law's house, and it's where the Roman road was. It went from London to Bath, and we're up on walking on it, and they train race horses there, so we're used to seeing thoroughbreds just flying by you at top speed. Well, we
Right.
saw one coming at us, and it was kind of foggy that evening, and when it got closer, it turned, and the horse had no legs, and it went right off a cliff. And I turned to the wife and I said, that horse was wearing armor. And she says, the rider was too. So we go down, we go in the pub. My best friend's the landlord of the pub. And I said, Mike, I saw some weird stuff today up on the hill. And he said, you saw him, didn't you? I said, what did I see? And he told me. And he says, everybody here's seen that. He says, it's been going on for 400 years. He says, it's a residual haunting. And he said, in actuality, there's a war up there where Oliver Cromwell's people shoved the king's mounted horses group right off of a cliff. And that was right where this guy went over.
Hmm.
And then Mike pointed out, he says, well, I've got a ghost that sits right in that corner all the time. I said, yeah, right. So he said, well, come up here early in the morning, stop by in the morning, have a cup of coffee. So I did. So we're sitting at the bar, and he goes, now turn around real slow and look in that corner. And sure enough, this lady's sitting in the corner. She had a bonnet on. She was nicely dressed, sipping a cup of tea. And he said, she's been there for hundreds of years. So it must have been a good cup
Wow.
of tea.
It must have been.
So you didn't have any
So,
experiences up to that point?
No,
That was you were in the Air Force when that happened, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
as a child, I never experienced anything. I had an aunt that's supposed to have been able to see spirits, and she was one of these that could remove warts off of your hands. And we went over there, and she said, "Go get a little stick in the yard, just a little one." I brought it back, and she said something and rubbed them warts with that stick and said something under her breath, and they went away.
Hmm.
I don't know how the hell they do that. And, I said, "Teach me, teach me." She goes, "I can only teach one person, and I've already taught them."
Hmm.
I wonder why they could only teach one person.
No idea.
Yeah, that's
Hmm,
weird.
that is strange.
Hey, Susan and Mike and Crystal.
And Crystal and Irene. And of course,
Yep.
Nigel's in there.
Yeah.
Yep, Nigel's
And
always in there
Irene.
from the
Yep.
UK. Yep, from Japan. So we're worldwide on the network. We get around all over the place. So after you got out of Germany and came back to the States, did you get right into the paranormal or did it take a few years to get into it?
No, I was in England, and I started reading up on it because I went to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's got some spirits. And that's when I realized that I can feel these things. I'd go into a room and you could walk around. I could feel where the cold spots were and stuff. And, I just joked with the wife about it. And so when I retired and got back to Pensacola, we went into business and we didn't have time for anything. And so when I retired at 55 years old. We, I went out to the lighthouse and started working with them. And that place is so haunted. And you get to, when you're out there every day, they get to know you, you get to know them. They call your name, different things like that. It was pretty wild. And so, I had a team there doing ghost hunts to raise money for the lighthouse. So when I left the lighthouse, the team left with me, and we went on to other
Right.
things.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good
we got
that you
a.
did that. And go
Let
ahead,
me tell you
Ron.
what happened last time we went up to my cousin's. My cousin calls me and tells me, she said, "We got a ghost problem." I knew she had a ghost problem because I'd been up there before and dealt with it. The house that was above them burned to the ground, and they didn't recover the two children. And they dug a big hole, shoved the house in it, built a new one right behind it. And the
Hmm.
kids would come down to her house and mess with the lights, closed doors, that type of thing. Mess with the thermostats, what really bugged them. And she tells me, she says, "Well, we got something different going on." She says, "We had a pickup truck I took away from my grandson." And she said it was parked behind the house. And she said, "We're sound asleep. All of a sudden, bright lights come on in the bedroom." I got up, looked out the window, and the truck's running. She says, "So Jimmy gets up, says, 'Where's your keys at?' She says, 'In my purse.' So he gets his keys out of a drawer and goes out there, unlocks the truck, puts it in ignition, turns the truck off and on, and locks it." He said he no more got back in the bed. The truck lit up again. So he went back out there and he's cussing at these ghosts, telling them to leave this damn truck alone. I need to get some sleep. I don't need you to play your games tonight. He said an hour later, the truck lit up the bedroom again. So he goes out, turns the truck off, opens the hood, gets a pair of pliers, disconnects the battery cable, and goes, "See?" Went back in the house, the light came on the truck again. So they moved the truck up to the far end of the property, facing the woods, so they wouldn't be bothered by it. So when we go to visit, I've got the keys in my pocket because I had been driving the truck around town. And about 10 o'clock at night, truck starts up. I went out and got in the truck, turned it all off, and said, okay, boys, enough with the truck. I said, you play with the lights, you mess with all of that stuff, they don't care. You can close the doors, they don't care. But when you're messing with this truck, I said, that's where we draw the line. I said, so either I'm going to bless this truck and you can't come near it, or y'all could just voluntarily leave the damn truck alone. They ain't had a problem with the truck since. So I went back to my cousin. I said, see, you got to talk to them like they're kids still and let them know, you're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But that was interesting.
Yeah, you do. A lot of times you do.
Hey, April. Another one of Denise's cousins. Probably freezing up there in Wisconsin.
Yep.
So this is the family channel?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
Everybody's related.
Sometimes.
everybody, yeah, on the shows that we do with Ron and Denise, we get a lot of their family in on it and stuff. So, but yeah.
Well, I'm going to have a get together
So
with my
you
team
created
again.
the
I'm going to have a get together with my team probably next week and go over some things again to remind them that the first thing we're going to do is debunk. They're pretty good about that, but we got a few that are too eager.
right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do anyway. I'm looking for the logical.
Right. Same thing I do.
Yeah, we all.
And everything.
We had one. It's the only
You look
callback I've ever had on a house cleansing. And we went back over there, and he said it's still creepy in the bedroom and in the hallway. And I got to walking around with a millimeter, and in the bedroom, the millimeter's out the roof. So is in the hallway. I thought, got a fear cage set up here. So I went out to the breaker box and checked, and they have an aluminum ground wire going down to the rod in the ground.
Yep.
So I called him out there and I said, come here, I want to show you your problem. I said, go to Lowe's, get another one of these 8-foot brass rods. I said, get another clamp and get a big piece of solid copper wire. I said, and come back, and this is where you screw it to, you run it down, clamp everything together down there. I said, and let me know how it works. He called me 2 or 3 days later and goes, house seems fine now.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you had a grounding problem.
Yep.
I said,
we've seen that in a lot of places.
How do you know to go look for things like that? And I said, I've been around building for years.
Yeah.
I've been around ghost hunting for years. I said, it's just, you know what to do.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you
just
are.
like the grounding rods, and look at the trees around the houses. Ron's debunked several of them like that. So have I. Where the tree limbs are by the house, the squirrels jump from the tree limb down to the house, climb under there, and get up in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
And they hear stuff all the time. We're hearing stuff and everything. Well, people, cut trees back from the house. Cut the limbs back. Fill your holes in. It doesn't take a lot of common sense to look around.
Yeah.
No, that was the same house that had all their wiring. They were redoing their kitchen, and all of the wiring coming into the house was all exposed. I mean, that millimeter was going crazy. It was just really high EMF. They said, yeah, when we go in the kitchen, we kind of get dizzy and lightheaded. And I said, well, yeah, that's why. And they said, no, it's because of the ghost. And I thought, man.
We had one we looked at and walked all over that house, but I kept being drawn to the aquarium. So I didn't have a millimeter with me, but I reached up and turned the light off on the aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls were sitting on the sofa and they said, that's it. That's it. The whole room feels lighter now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, go
even at
ahead,
the
Ron.
Sally house upstairs in that master bedroom in the closet, we
Mm-hmm.
had the hall light on. It was all it was a concrete wall. You would get absolutely nothing. You turn that light switch on in the hallway, man, that millimeter went, it shot through the roof on the concrete.
Well, the same way it did in the baby's room. The light in the
Yep.
kitchen was right below it.
Yep. Underneath it.
You turn the kitchen light on, and everything would go crazy in that room.
Yep. And I told people that investigate if we weren't there, doing overnights with them, the people that did investigate it, we told them, I know you like to have all the lights off and everything, but I said, turn the hall light on and go to all the other rooms. I said that high EMF will help feed what's ever in here. It does help
Mm-hmm.
the activity. When that thing's down, it wasn't as active. But
Well, you look at the older houses, they don't have the shielded
Mm-hmm.
wiring in them.
no,
So you're always going to get that stuff going on.
Have you ever played with a Tesla coil?
no, I haven't. I've kind of wanted to.
I had a group, Tuscaloosa Taps team, came down to the lighthouse, and they wanted to stay overnight one night and train. So I stayed with them, and they broke out a Tesla coil, pretty big one, and had it on
Yeah.
the floor upstairs. This thing put out so much energy, you could just feel the waves hit you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And,
Hmm.
when we'd ask them to do something, it was like the ghosts were on steroids.
Yeah.
Can you close the door? Bam!
Right.
Whoa, y'all must like that.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, have you ever used any of the plasma balls where you
Plasma
touch it and
ball.
the lightning would go to your fingertips?
Yeah, we got one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a round ball and it's got a tube inside of it that looks like it's
yeah, I've
shooting
seen them.
lightning out everywhere.
Yeah. If something
If you
touches it.
run your finger around it, the lightning will follow you. Yeah, we've used it in investigations and watched, and you would see one of the lightning bolts just follow back and forth something on it. And it gives out energy left and right.
What is the oddest thing you've run into?
So,
Wow.
Probably a lot.
the oddest thing I've ran
Yeah.
into
Yeah. I was gonna say, hey
was
Dan,
in a, yeah,
Kitty.
but the weirdest thing we ran into was we was investigating an old hospital downtown Kansas City. And we were in there and walking down this hallway, we could smell kerosene in about a 4 foot area. You'd walk through it and smell it and then walk out of it. And there's nothing around there that would have had kerosene in it or, been spilled. But everybody could smell it as you walked through this one section of the hallway. That was one of the weirdest things I'd ever seen. The different smells but
We did a
yeah,
we did a
and
hospital
we've
in
seen some.
Defuniak Springs, an abandoned hospital, and I had put these cat
Uh huh.
balls about every 3 feet down the hallway. Well, the girls were down at the other end of the hallway, and they were in the operating room. Well, two of them walked out of the operating room, and we're sitting downstairs watching them on closed circuit TV. When they walked out of there, this cat ball lights up and goes into the room across the hall. And it comes out, bounces off the wall, goes in another room. Then it comes out and lines up and headed straight for the girls. And they just freaked. And they just screamed and ran from this little 1 inch round ball.
Hmm.
But I thought, yeah, somebody is having a good time here tonight.
Hey, Tom.
Oh yeah. Well, you brought up a good point on that. How many investigations have you been on when somebody runs scared and goes crazy?
It's only been a couple times.
Because we've seen a lot of that.
It's only been a
Yeah.
couple times. The my crew is pretty seasoned, and they've seen some weird stuff over the years. I tell you, the weirdest thing we
Hmm.
did. I get a call from this guy. He's supposed to be a medium. He says, "I need you to come over to my house." He says, "I have a portal in my yard, and these fairies come in and out of the portal." And he said, "These fairies blow around my yard." And he goes, "I got an alien that hangs out on the corner of the house." Okay. So we go over there and he gives us this whole
Okay.
spiel how he was trained by a shaman and on and on. Angels taught him and all of this stuff. So let's go see your portal. So we go outside and he says, "It's right here." So I took a bright light, I shined it on the ground. Well, all these little spiders have about 8 eyes on each one.
Mhm.
They all looked up and you see all these little eyes. He goes, "See, see." I said, "Those are spiders." And I reached down and got a couple of them. I said, "See, that's not fairies, it's spiders." So he's kind of embarrassed. So he goes, "The other stuff is all on camera. I've been clipping it and saving it all off the recorder." So we go in and we watch his cameras. He's got cameras on all corners of the house. And we go in and we watch. And he goes, just watch. You'll see them. They go all over the yard. The heat pump would kick in and blow all his grass and dirt out of the heat pump. Well, on the camera, it just kind of glitters as it comes out.
Yeah.
I said, "That's your heat pump doing that. There ain't no freaking fairies in your air conditioning unit." I said, "Show me your UFO." So he shows me. It kind of dances on the corner of the house. I said, "Okay, watch the camera." So I went outside, drug up a box. I climbed up on it. I knocked it down. The spider web went back in the house and said, "Do you see it now?" Oh God, he was embarrassed. He ain't been around at all since then. But the
Yeah,
girls,
I wouldn't think
the,
so.
I
the
bet
girls, they were
not.
trying their best not to laugh in front of him. But we got in the car. Oh, I thought they were going to wet themselves.
Oh man.
They go, "This guy was an officer in the military, and he's supposed to be all of this." And I said, "Well, it goes to show you these people that set up shop as a medium and do these readings and stuff. It's just what you're getting."
Yeah. Did you, when you're in the Air
Yeah,
Force,
there's
did
so
you
many
talk
of them
to
out
any
there.
other?
That,
Do what?
Did you talk to any other people in the military about ghost hunting or spirits or anything?
Yeah, we have. When I was at our RAF Upper Hayford, we have we had a jet, and it was the F-111, and they called it
Yep.
Christine, and it was number 13. It was 013, and Christine would turn her marker lights on. Middle of the night, the plane would light up, and they chased electrics and
Oh yeah.
never did figure out why that jet did that. And then we had we were out on a flight line one night, and we saw somebody walk into a shelter. So we thought, who the hell's out here in the middle of the night? So we haul ass over there, and the personnel door of the shelter's locked. So I said, what could that be?
Hmm.
But when you're dealing with a World War II base, ain't no telling who died over there.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, we didn't. I didn't talk. I didn't talk to anybody, or no one said anything about anything like when I was in. I hadn't really thought about
Same
a
here.
paranormal group or anything like that then. It was later. Hell, I was married to Denise.
That's
We were
true.
married
Same
10
way
or
I
11
was.
years and she never said a thing.
Well, I should have got more active in it in England because that is
Right.
Ghost Central.
Yep.
I
Well,
would
we're going to
love to.
Ireland. That's close.
I would have loved to have my SLS camera back in.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
sit and watch them walk around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're at
Well, the
Malvern Manor.
the SLS is, you know.
I think we got a delay on you, Carl.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I think you have a delay on your end out in the bus or something. I
Who,
don't know.
me?
No, on Carl.
Me.
I don't know. It's because you're out there, or
See.
but it is quieter.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, go ahead with your story from Melbourne, Ron.
Yeah, we were all at Malvern. There was about 22 of us, and we had stepped away. We walked down the hallway. They call it the Shadow Man hallway. We had stepped away from there. About 4 or 5 of them stayed back. We went to get something to drink or use the bathroom or something. Anyway, by the time we got there, we heard just loud screaming. They saw about a 7-foot black shadow come out of the room and just ran right at them. It scared the crap out of them. One guy about run the girls over trying to get out. Anyway, we heard them screaming, so we went back down there and they told us what happened. I mean, they were shaking. They were visibly shook up. So I thought, well, we need to hang out down here now. I thought as soon as we left, this happens, right? So we all go back down there, and we're down there trying to see if they can see it again, and of course they're kind of hanging behind us, and we're trying to do. I start to do after about 15 minutes or so. I start to do a head count, and we had 22 people, and I was like, who are we missing? And I went, it was Carl and Stephanie. So I went, well, we need to go find them. So I go down the hallway, I go upstairs, and as soon as I come up the stairs, I can either go to the right or curl away another stairway over to the other side of the building with a hallway. So I hear a man and a woman talking over on the left side. So I go over there, and as I'm walking up to the room, it's definitely a man and a woman, but then I realize it doesn't sound like Carl or Stephanie.
Mm.
It doesn't sound like them at all. And as soon as I get by the door, and I was like, it's definitely coming out of this room. As soon as I get to the door, it stops. Of course, I walk in there and check the whole room. There are small rooms with a little closet. It didn't take long. And I was like, they're not in here. I ended up checking every room in that hallway all the way to the end. I came back. I come back down again. The same 2 people were talking in that room. So this time, I was like, it's definitely not them. Doesn't sound like them. So I snuck up. As soon as I got to the doorway, it stopped again. Of course, I checked the room. I went, damn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a recorder on me. I don't have anything. I didn't even have my flashlight, really. So I checked the other hallway on the same floor, and the other 20, they're all downstairs. They're all still like, I can't even hear them laughing or doing anything. It's that big a place. So I go down there, and they said, did you find them? And I said, no, they're not anywhere upstairs, but I did hear two people talking, but it wasn't them. And then I thought, it was cold. It was real cold and snowing. And I thought, oh, they couldn't have been outside this whole time. So I thought, well, let me go check. So I go outside, I open the door, and those two are out there smoking. And I said, have you two been out here this whole time? And they look at, oh, yeah, we've been out here about an hour and a half. And I went, oh, okay. So you weren't upstairs at all? No, we haven't even made it upstairs yet. And I went, okay. Well, I knew that, but I told them what happened. They were like, oh, really? But I never, that was the third time we went. That was second or third time. I always went up by that room, kind of sneak up when I went up the stairs to see if I could ever hear that again. I never have. But I would pay more attention to what they were talking about if I ever heard them again. Because I don't, like I said, I didn't pay attention to what they were saying. I just heard a conversation, as a man and a woman. But it was really loud. And this town is so small. It's somebody goes, well, sure you didn't hear a conversation like somewhere else? I'm like, no, there's nobody out past midnight in this town. It just isn't. And it was upstairs. Like I said, you could hear it. It was distinct. It was coming from that room. But yeah, we've had you're talking about smells. We were at a restaurant. It was downtown Atchison, and a friend of ours knew the owners, and they said we can go in. Joe went in and told them, we want to investigate it. And they thought, well, yeah, this would be kind of interesting. They didn't tell us a thing about the place. I mean, nothing. We didn't know anything. And that's how we like to go in anyway. We like to kind of go in blind, but we went in. We went up. They said, we'll let you go upstairs. And they said, there's these back rooms. This is all big, huge storage place. There was about 8 of us. Anyway, we go up there and we go, as soon as you come in, you kind of go straight and you could see where there was like something on the floor, like cabinets or something, it got the holes and you could see it was lighter colored. You could see where the cabinets were. And I said, what? I said, was there something up here or did you have cabinets? And they said, well, they said back in the day, this is the bar. This is where the bar was. And I said, oh, and you could smell like cherry pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
Some people said they even smelled alcohol. So I'm like, okay. So we go upstairs and all the way to the back part, me and another guy, we get all the way to the back and all of a sudden we start smelling like a lilac perfume. And I went, wow, that is strong. And we said, you smell that? It's like, whoo. Anyway, they said, what's going on back there? I said, come on back here. I said, we're smelling like a perfume. Smell, like a lilac or a lavender, right? And Denise and another girl comes up and they're doing the rabbit sniff and nothing. They said, well, I don't smell anything. One of the other guys comes up there. He smells it. Guess what we figured out? Only the men smelled this perfume. The women didn't.
That's odd.
We later found out that back in the early 1900s, that was a brothel. And that's where the women stayed. And the brothel was back in that back part.
Mm-hmm.
They would come down to the bar. The guys would sit around at the bar and drink. And the ladies would come out and then they would pick, which lady they wanted. But we didn't know.
I like going into a place blind.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot more fun.
We did, there's 4 little shotgun houses in front of Joe Patty's Seafood.
Yeah.
And we got a call to go into 3 of them one night. And the first one we went in, I said, what is what's the problem? She says, it's just cold in our bedroom. So I walk around the bed. It's a little bitty house. And I walked around the bed, and it's only a foot and a half wide down the back side of the bed. And when I walked down in there, I about froze. I just got the chills. I backed out of there. I thought, whoa. So I came out and I got Sabrina. She's my right hand person. And I said, Sabrina, go in there and tell me, she's gifted too. And she says, okay. So she goes in the back corner and she comes out and she's almost crying. She goes, God, it's so there's somebody dead in that corner. So we went outside. I went up to the lady that lives there and I said, I hate to tell you, but somebody's died in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, oh, my dad's ashes are underneath the bed right there. I said, y'all just got married, huh? She goes, yeah, we just got married 6 weeks ago. I said, so you're honeymooning on the bed and daddy's underneath the bed. Don't you think he'd be a little pissed?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I didn't even think about that. Oh my God.
Obviously.
I said, Daddy don't need to be under the bed. He needs to be sprinkled in the bay or and something with him, not under your bed.
Yeah, what was the deal with those houses? Were those like the
Somebody
little
just
bitty
bought them.
houses?
Yeah, they're little houses, and
Yeah.
it's just those 3-room houses. And somebody bought them and fixed them up, and they sold them.
Huh.
Cute little houses.
Yeah. Nope. Carl came and went.
Mhm.
So when do you think you'll be ready to go to that jail again?
I gotta set that up. I don't want to go when it's super hot because there's no
No,
air
no, no. I mean,
conditioning.
when are you going to be feeling good enough to go?
Oh, I'm good enough to go now, but
Oh, are you?
yeah, my wife ain't gonna let me go. I'll set something up as soon as we can. It because I want to do a night in the jail and a night in the Swanee Hardware Company
Mm-hmm.
upstairs in the hardware company where they build caskets.
Hmm.
And that building is just freaking awesome. It's the oldest continual store in the state of Florida.
Wow. Yeah, we definitely want to go try and get in there this time.
I want to go. Well, next month we're going up to Tanny Hill State Park in Alabama. It's outside Birmingham.
Yep.
It's an old ironworks, and I've never ghost hunted. I've just been up there once, and I'm going to take some equipment and see what's up there at the ironworks.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's got to be something around there. All those years they did that stuff, and
Yeah.
my daughter is one of the administrators of the city of Mariana, and she's checking to find out when they're going to finish the the boardwalk to the Bellamy Bridge. It's haunted bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and she's checking on that. And they have a new plantation they just bought called Oak Plantation, and I'm going to see about what they'll rent the plantation to us. She said they won't let us overnight there. The neighbors
Yeah.
are weird. They call the cops when somebody's there past about midnight.
Hmm.
But we'll see what we can't do about going there. And you can go to the caverns too, so that makes a good
Yep.
weekend trip.
Oh yeah. That's not very far.
No, it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
moved up from Orlando, and They were on about, I don't know about living in a little town. They don't have everything and on. And they, after they've been there a few months, it's like, we love it here.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, we stopped in at Mariana. Oh, we were coming back from Tampa the last trip, and it's a nice little town.
It is.
Yeah, I liked it.
I tell you, another cool place to stay is in Defuniak Springs.
Yep.
There's a hotel there, and the Hotel Defuniak, and the owner is Cajun, and he's a damn good chef. They got a little restaurant in there.
Oh,
And
that's the one with the Cajun restaurant,
yes,
isn't it? Yeah, I saw the
and
sign for that.
it's haunted.
Huh.
And we took the whole team and rented all the rooms one year. That was fun.
So what'd you get? What'd you find there?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. Uh, we went in to go sit down at this table in a boardroom, and I just spun the camera around first, the SLS camera, to see, if there's anything in the room. And there's this cat dancing on the table.
Mm-hmm.
We sat down, and I said, "Won't you get off the table and sit down in this chair?" And he did. But that was kind of odd. We had one of the girls on the team had a necklace that was very, very valuable, and she had it laying on the dresser in a cup. And she went to go downstairs and get some breakfast, and when she come back, the necklace was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we searched the room. We took that room apart. No necklace. Well, she's just to the point of hysterical. So I said, let's go downstairs and have a mimosa and just relax a minute. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I got her to do that. And we go back upstairs into the room, going to search the room again. And laying in the middle of the bed, spread out, is that necklace. I said,
Wow.
well, somebody knew what that meant something to you, and they put it back. But that is a cool place.
Yeah, we had an investigation. We were talking about a necklace. We were doing an investigation, and later on, uh, one of the ladies there, she was complaining that she was kind of getting hot and having a little trouble breathing. We were down in the basement, and I thought, well, but it's a little cool down there, but I don't know why she's getting hot, but she's having trouble breathing. Anyway, we ended up leaving. We go upstairs, and you know, somebody said, well, did you get scratched or something? I don't know why they asked that, but they shined the flashlight. We still didn't have good light even when we left the basement. We shined the flashlight on her neck. Her necklace was all twisted up. You could see it was all twisted and it was
Yeah.
starting to like choke her. And I thought, well, that was weird as hell. It was just twisting on her down in the basement and just kept getting tighter and it's getting tight. She wasn't putting two and two together why she couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, well, your necklace is all twisted up. And she's like, what happened? We untwisted it, but that was pretty weird.
We'll have to go over to Fort Blakely and play with the ghost over there.
Oh, I love that place.
I tell you, there's just north of there, about 4 miles, is a place called Wilkins Plantation, and that's where the Yankees camped to attack
Yep.
Fort
That's where they
Blakely.
would have been.
And before they developed it for a subdivision, they had just cut the road in, and they had cleared a bunch of trees and stuff, and they let us go down there and camp. And I just parked the motorhome in the middle of the freaking dirt road on the cul-de-sac, and another couple were behind me in another motorhome, and middle of the night heard this aim fire, aim fire, aim fire, and then forward, and then buku sets of boots marched off. Man, I come out of that motorhome. What in the living hell was that? And they were already out of their motorhome going, whoa, whoa, whoa. So the next morning, I'm sitting there drinking coffee, and this guy comes up in his pickup truck and introduces himself. And he said, I live right through the woods over here. And he says, what about that gun battle last night? I said, you heard that? He goes, I got up to pee. And he said, all of a sudden they started firing. He said, I sort of hosed the bathroom. And he said, I go back in the bedroom. My wife's on the floor. she wasn't getting up off that floor till the shooting's over.
Had they heard that before?
No, he said, that's the first time we've
That's the
heard
first
that.
time?
He said, we've heard the
Wow.
odd marching and we've heard the, yelling and, the odd gunshot, but we'd never
Yeah.
heard that. And he said, do know about the drummer boy? I said, yeah, we've heard that before. At 2:00 every day, the drummer boy plays.
Huh.
And you hear him rat-a-tat-tat, tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat, tat-tat, and he does it 3 times.
At 2:00. Huh.
2:00.
Yeah, that battle, I don't know if everybody knows that battle in Fort Blakely, that was the last battle of the Civil War. And
Yep,
technically the Civil War was already over.
yep.
They just didn't know.
3,500 men died in 45 minutes.
Right. Oh yeah, when you go to the battlefield, it's not real big.
When
I
you're
mean, as far as
if you're standing in the ditch between the northern
yeah,
and southern lines, we were standing in that ditch and you can feel the woe, the
yeah,
sorrow.
yeah,
And
it's different feeling.
I got a millimeter out and I was getting like a 35 and there's
Yeah,
no electricity around there.
none.
Wow.
There's
Yeah,
that much energy in that ditch.
yeah, we went out to help investigation. We had about 100 people showed up. But they had the haunted housewives. About I guess a couple hours in, probably about 60 of them or so left. 60, 70 people left. That place was active after that. After the sun went down, it got really active. They
Well,
had a
it's funny.
spirit box. They had the spirit box. They had that annoying noise. They
Yeah,
had something that was canceling that, so you could hear it a lot better. It was a lot better. But man, that thing was it was. They were asking questions. This girl was asking questions. We were getting answers.
we uh we went one weekend and they had put up the chain to block the road, keep people out of the battlefield at night. But we go in on
Yeah.
golf carts, around the chain gone. And
Yep.
one of the guys runs up onto the Confederate embankment up there. And when
No.
he did, he meets a Confederate soldier in uniform. And they both screamed. They scared the crap out of each other. And come to find out, they were going to do this reenactment. So they're sleeping on bedrolls behind
Oh.
that wall. And so the guy is the in charge of the whole fort. I
Yeah.
mean, he's the managing director or whatever his job is. But he said, "How accurate is these things?" Talking about my Ghost Meter Pro, I said, "It's pretty accurate. You can ask questions and they'll answer it." And he said, "Okay, fine. Are you with a such and such a, because it was lit up?" He says, "Are you with such and such a regiment?" It said, "No." "Are you with such and such?" "No." And he named off a regiment out of Mississippi. "Are you with such and such out of Mississippi?" "Yes." "Is your colonel so and so?" "No." "How is he so and so?" "No." "Is he so and so?" "Yes." He goes, "That's right."
Wow.
He said, "That is dead on the money." And he sat there and talked to this freaking ghost for 20 minutes.
Damn.
It was interesting.
Yeah, you can go out to Fort Blakely, but if you go out, at night, there's only there's not a lot of people they let do that. I don't know if you
No,
knew
we
that.
just kind of sneak in.
Oh,
We've been
really?
doing that for years. Yeah, we camp there, and then
Yeah, if you camp there, you could probably sneak out.
that's what we do. We camp there, take the golf carts. It's quiet.
They, I
Oh, it's
will warn
funny.
you, they do have cameras up in the trees,
Yeah,
way
they
out
don't.
there.
They don't care.
I know. I'm just
Uh,
saying. I know.
yeah.
I did notice the cameras out there at night. I
They
saw
used to.
where they
You
were
could
at.
go to the
They're
northern
pointing
end.
right at where the battle is up on the
Yeah.
hills there. That's where they're shooting them. So
You
they
could.
didn't want anybody up
You
there.
could go to the northern end, and then they, for some stupid reason, they put these telephone poles down, and they dug this big moat around there.
Yep. Yep.
Well, we thought they had just put telephone poles down because it's pitch black one night we were there. No moon. I climbed over
No.
that telephone pole and was gone. And everybody's up top going, "Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at?" And I said, "I'm down here." I said, "It's about a 15-foot drop. Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, it's grass down
Yeah.
here. I landed in grass."
Oh shit.
I've got some really good pictures from there.
Yeah. That just seemed to get the activity went up as the night went on. That was really weird. I don't know. Maybe there's too many people there at first.
I tell you what you could do though too is they got those cottages that rent really cheap,
Yeah. Yep.
and they sleep 8, 10 people.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little more out and about this year.
Yeah, but you gotta almost book that during the week. They're booked up usually on the weekends.
Yep,
I was actually looking at that.
or way ahead.
Yeah, way ahead.
Pick a date in the fall and book it.
Yep. Yeah, that's when you'd have to do it.
I'd give anything to go into Fort Morgan again at night, but I'm not going to pay that $500.
For how many people? 500 now for how many?
I don't know. Uh, one of the other girls in town, she's kind of ruined that.
Right.
I'm going to call out there
Yeah.
and talk to them, or go out there and talk to them.
So, what's on your bucket list where you would love to go to investigate, Rob?
Oh, I don't know. I'd love to go back to the Stanley Hotel. I mean, that was just freaking awesome. We
Well,
got a
there ought to
picture
be,
there of a nice ghost.
yeah. Well, there ought to be a lot of places there right in your area in Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, all those areas around in there because a lot of the Southern wars were fought down in those areas.
Oh, there's a
Mhm.
lot of them. There's a few vacant houses that I'm gonna get in touch with the realtor to see if we can get in there and see what we can't do.
Right,
See if we can find something different to do.
right. Because there's a lot of, like up here, there's a lot of vacant old houses, especially out in the country, and trying to
It's
track
like
down
Fort McRae.
owners.
We
Yeah,
went over to
Yeah.
Fort McRae, but we didn't carry equipment with us.
right.
And now I know how to get into the underground part of that fort. I need to go back over there soon.
Yeah, it's more fun in a boat.
Huh? Oh yeah,
It's
you
more
got to
fun
go by
by boat and have to
you
wait
got to
in.
go by boat. It's the only way to get there. But
Yeah.
there's people don't realize as they walk all over the top of that thing that you can get in there, and there's about 50 rooms inside of there.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, when is going to be your next investigation with the group?
I don't really know. We got a few house cleansings coming up. Go over there, find out what's in the house, what's making it go boo, and turn the lights on and off, and a lot of times it's somebody, it's a relative, and we sit down there and find out who it is, and then ask them, "Do you really want me to get rid of this guy?"
Right. No, a lot of times they don't want you to.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've had some houses like that.
Right now.
They wanted to get rid of the bad ones and wanted to keep
yeah.
the one that they liked. So we managed to do it. I don't know how, but
Right. Right. Well, we got about 4 more minutes in it. Rob, you going to tell everybody where they can find you at, and if they have any
We have
problems, get a hold
we
of
have
you.
a Facebook page called Panhandle Paranormal of Pensacola, and we're a pretty active group. We hadn't been active in the last 6 months because I've been laid up.
Right.
But this year is my year to get the girls out more. Let them go on a few of these things themselves.
Right.
Because a good leader trains people to take their place if need be. That's what I need to do.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. So, how many people are on your team?
I got about 8 or 9. But the funny thing is, you get 8 or 9 people on your team, but yet when something comes up,
yeah,
everybody's busy.
Right.
yeah, it's hard to
I
get
know how
everybody
that is.
together.
So I'm lucky if I get 1 or 2. But if I mention, oh, we're going to road trip, oh my God, everybody's free.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, it's been real interesting talking to you tonight, Rob, and stuff. Sorry for my internet problems. It's
Hey, that's no problem.
and everything, but
We all have a good evening.
and anytime you want to come back on, Rob, just get a hold of Denise and Ron, and we'll have you back on the show.
Well, they're doing that meetup once a month. I think that's a good idea. I'd like to
Yeah,
do one.
what do you think about that? Everybody there has never investigated.
I know.
There's nobody, and they're still coming back every month.
I think next
They,
time we ought
they
to
want to investigate.
we'll bring some equipment. Let them see what we use.
That's
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do.
There's got to be something in that old bar.
They say that bar's haunted, but
Yeah, but I'll bring equipment. They can get it.
right.
Have equipment, wander around, see what they can find.
Right,
Yep.
and show them how to use it and explain it, and it gets them more interested in it. And maybe you might find the right person to join your group.
I let a few months go by, and I did. Each month, I'll ask everybody that's there, "Do you want to get out and investigate?" I mean, without hesitation, yes. We want to do something. We're ready to do.
I'd like to do one in Pensacola.
Yeah.
Meet up at a brewery. We were at that Coastal Brewery that time downtown. We can meet up somewhere like that again.
Yep.
But
okay.
Hell, you can meet up in the middle of Seville Square because there's ghosts all over that place.
Yeah.
And then Lucy's is right there on the corner, that little cafe, and they got a ghost in the front room of Lucy's.
Yeah,
that's where I go. That's where I interview new people at. Is it Lucy's?
Yeah.
You see if they get freaked out. It's funny though. I get these people all the time. They'll message me going, "Oh, I want to be part of your team. I've just discovered I'm a medium. I need to see who comes to me." Right. I say, "Well, excuse me, but you don't just discover you're a medium.
Right.
If you're a medium, you've been one your whole life."
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you would have known it from a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So, Okay, well, we
All
want to
right.
thank everybody in the chat room with us tonight and stuff, and everybody tune in with everybody here.
Y'all
So,
have a good one.
yep,
We'll get together for a beer soon.
there you go.
All
So,
right, Rob. Well, hope you're at the meetup
Oh,
next
I
month.
will. I'll
All
be
right.
there.
Yeah, I'm
Take,
glad you made it out. That was good.
yeah.
well, y'all
Everybody
take care.
enjoyed hearing your stories.
Okay, Rob, have a good
All right.
evening.
Bye
All
bye.
right, Rob. We'll
Everybody,
see
we'll
you.
see you next week here on Paranormal Nation Radio. Not so
We
normal.
got
Have a good evening.
Cheryl Ann Fletcher next week on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, got her rescheduled.
Okay, the Paranormal Pride next Monday, Cheryl Ann Fletcher. Everybody tune in for that one. It's going to be a great show. We'll see you next week.